So honestly, this week is pretty stale when it comes to UFC fights. We got Vittori versus Delidze in the Apex. Like, bro, I'm tired of these Apex fights. But honestly, I have Vittori in that fight by unanimous decision. I just wanted to get that out there. But what everyone is here for, I wanted to compile a list of the top 10 best boxers in the UFC right now. There's honestly a lot of good boxers in the UFC, but to me, there is a gap between the top 10 and then the other good boxers. Before I get into the list, I want to make an honorable mention list. So I have Justin Gaethje, I have Carlos Prates, I have Sergey Pavlovich, I also have Sean Strickland, Joaquin Buckley, and Diego Lopez. They're all good boxers in their own right, but I do think the other boxers in the top 10 list are just simply better boxers than them. And also for my criteria, I do take in defense. I do take in, technique, shot placement, combinations. If you're able to box on the front foot and the back foot, that is a very important aspect. And also, how successful is your boxing in MMA? Because there's a lot of good strikers, but there is some guys that don't always have that same level of success against certain styles. So a lot of things come into consideration. But what I just mentioned is like the most important things for me. So best coming in at number 10 is going to be Tom Aspinall. So Tom Aspinall is a very fast heavyweight. I honestly think he's one of the fastest heavyweights of all time. He's very in and out with his footwork. He's very quick to the punch. He has a good jab, but he usually only uses it for the 1-2. He doesn't really pop out a constant jab. He takes very good angles. He could punch moving backwards. He could punch moving forward. I would like him to implement a little bit more body work. You don't really see it too much out of Aspinall, but I think that will level up his game even more. He's very powerful, and I think the most important aspect of his boxing is his placement. He has very good punch placement. If you notice, he usually likes to hit guys in the ear area, which is like the equilibrium, throws the balance off. That's how he knocked out Sergey Pavlovich. But yeah, I think number 10 is the correct placement for him. If he's able to knock out John Jones, then he's going to be very high, but right now he's number 10. So coming in at number 9 is Jeff Neal. So Jeff Neal's a southpaw. He's very quick. I think the best aspect of his boxing is his combinations. He puts good combinations together. He actually throws a lot of straight shots. You don't really see a ton of hooks coming from him, which isn't a bad thing, because honestly, I do think in MMA, straight punches are more successful than hooks. And he has the ability to go to the body as well. I like how he mixes up things sometimes, but he has had fights where he's not as active and he's lost the fight. He can punch moving forward and he can punch moving backward. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about Neal besides him not being as active, but I do think that these next guys on the list are just better boxers than him. So Jeff Neal is number 9. So coming in at number 8 is Joshua Van. So this is going to be kind of controversial. I don't even think people would think he's a top 10 boxer in the UFC, but if you watch him, very good. He changes levels. He goes to the body. He goes to the head. He has a very constant jab. His technique is amazing. He's always a guy that likes to invest to the body, and he slows guys down. I like that. He also has respectable power for flyweight. Defensively, he's also good as well. He can pull counter. He can punch moving backwards. He can punch moving forward. He can slip the jab. In the UFC. I think he's a guy that a lot of people have to pay attention to when it comes to boxing in the UFC. He's one of the best. And I do think, when he has more experience, he will be a top 5 boxer in the UFC. But right now, I have him at number 8, and I think that's correct.
I'm the best boxer in the UFC, baby.
Coming in at number 7 is Jerome Max Holloway. That's crazy. His name's really Jerome. I never knew that. Max, at one point, he was a top 4 boxer in the UFC, but I do think, him getting knocked out by Ilya, then Volk outboxing him, terribly in the third fight. Volk boxed him up. He made him look dumb in that fight. And before I get into Max Holloway, I did want to say that I don't have Volk on the list. Volk is a weird one because he is a very good boxer, but I just think the top 10 is better than him. But also, he's very effective. So it's kind of a weird one because he did outbox Max Holloway, but I just feel like his game as a whole is more MMA oriented, if that makes sense. But Max Holloway, very good volume puncher. I think he's one of the best combination punchers in the UFC. He can punch moving forward. He can punch moving backwards. He also is able to switch stances, so he's good in southpaw and he's good in orthodox. Constant jab, and he is one of the rare guys that mixes in body shots, and he goes to the body. So I think overall, Max Holloway is one of the best boxers in the UFC. But him getting boxed up, like I was saying, puts him lower on the list nowadays for me. But everything is subject to change, so I'm pretty sure eventually he'll go back up. Right now, I have Max Holloway at number 7. So coming in at number 6 is a familiar foe of Max Holloway, and it is Dustin Poirier. So Poirier, southpaw, he's not really able to switch stances. He does occasionally when he leads with this straight left and then he steps in and then throws the overhand right. So he switches stances. He's able to do that at times. He has very good technique. He goes to the body as well. He'll throw straights to the body. He really loves that right hand. His best punch is his right hook, and that is because he's actually a right-handed southpaw. So if some of y'all didn't know that, now y'all know. The thing about Dustin, though, is I feel like he's not really good at punching on the back foot. Back in the day, I think he was a little better. Like, he could pull counter. Like, versus Justin Gaethje in the first fight, that was very nice. So I do think he's good at pull countering, but other than that, I think he's more of a front foot guy. When he has somebody hurt, I think he's one of the best finishers in the UFC. He'll throw a lot of volume, and he's going to get you out of there one way or another. I will say, though, like, there's a takedown threat in MMA, but, you know, Islam had a lot of success versus him. And I do think at times defensively he can get caught a little too much for my liking. And sometimes he gets a little sloppy, like when he's on point early in the rounds. I do think he's one of the best technical boxers in the UFC. Like, when it comes to technique and punch placement, I do think he gets a little sloppy with his technique. But I have Dustin Poirier at number 6. He's definitely like a top 4 boxer in the UFC when he's on point, but right now he's getting older, and I do think these other guys on the list
I'm the best boxer in the UFC, baby.
So coming in at number 5 is Sugar Shane O'Malley. Dang, I gotta work on my accent, bro. It's fucking terrible. Sean is able to switch stances. He could box in southpaw. He could box in orthodox. He could box out the back foot. He could box on the front foot. He invests to the body. Technically, I think he's one of the best boxers in the UFC. His shot placement is beautiful. He's very precise. Straight shots, that's like his best weapon. One thing I do think O'Malley could work on, though, is check hooks. I think if he added more check hooks to his game, he could have much more success. He's more of a straight punch guy, right? So I think when he's in southpaw, throw the right hook, and then when he's in orthodox, throw the left hook. Like versus Marab and some other matchups he's had, he's been very dependent on his straight right. So that's what I mean when I say he's very dependent on the straight right. Like, when he fights that way, I think he's limiting himself, because we've seen him, throw combinations versus Paiva. When he throws combinations, he's very effective and dangerous. And also defensively, he's not bad as well, right? He has ability to pull counter and shots like that. He's not much of a slip guy, but he is very good at pull countering. But nevertheless, Sean O'Malley is a top 5 boxer in the UFC right now. And I do think that him and Dustin Poirier could switch places, but I put him at number 5 right now because Dustin Poirier is on his way out. So the next fighter up, coming in at the 4th spot, is the light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira. So Alex Pereira, he's a very good boxer as well. He invests to the body. He throws a jab to the body. He's not a bad combination puncher either, but he's more of a one-shot guy, a single-shot guy. He's very effective with his boxing nevertheless, but I do think that sometimes, like O'Malley, he limits himself. He's very dependent on his left hook and his body jab. I do think that if he would throw his straight right more, he would have a lot of success. Guys are so worried of his check hook when they're circling out sometimes. I think he could time straight rights and get some knockouts, with that punch. But I do like that he invests to the body, and technically he's one of the best strikers as well. He has very good shot placement. I think actually when it comes to shot placement, he's top 2 in MMA. Like, his shot placement is absolutely immaculate. Like, it's beautiful. I think that's a big reason of why he gets a lot of his knockouts. But Alex Pereira is number 4. So we're coming in on the last 3 best boxers in the UFC. Number 3. This might get a lot of people mad, but it is Jack Della Maddalena. So JDM, I don't even know where to start. Bro is a very good boxer. He does almost everything correct. He throws combinations. He invests to the body. Technically, he's very sharp. His shot placement is beautiful. He has good power. Defensively, he's good as well. He has a very good high guard. He's able to catch and shoot punches, which is a thing that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people don't do that in MMA. He's able to do it. One thing I will say that I do think that he could work on is, pumping out a constant jab. Sometimes he'll lead in with combinations instead of like working off a jab. But that's like little stupid things. He could pull counter, he could slip punches, he could punch moving forward, he could punch moving backwards. Me putting him at number 3 right now might sound a little crazy, but I do think he's gonna age well in the long run when he's beating guys and maybe even beats Bilal. We'll see, but I think he's a top 3 boxer in the UFC right now. So coming in at number 2 of the best boxers in the UFC is Petr Yan. Very good on the front foot, very good on the back foot. They both sport the high guards. They use the high guards. They don't really get hit too much. They have very tight guards. So defensively, they're good as well. They have good footwork. So I think they're very similar, right? But where Jan separates himself is his ability to switch stances. Jan can fight in southpaw, and he can also fight in orthodox. Very good shot placement. He has respectable power. He invests to the body, which I love. That's a major criteria in this whole list. Like, guys that are able to mix it up and go to the body. That's very important. His technique is beautiful as well. He actually has an amateur, boxing background, so it makes a lot of sense of why he's a very good boxer. In all of his fights, you really never seen him get outboxed. Like, yeah, in some of his recent losses, he got outpaced or, they grinded him out, but you never really see Jan get outstruck. He has some shaky moments versus Figgy, but that dude has like pound for pound power, and that's a whole other story. But Petr Yan is honestly one of the best boxers we ever seen in MMA, and I think it's going to stay that way for a long time. So I think number 2 is the correct placement for him. So the number 1 best boxer in the UFC, I don't want to hear anyone say it's glazing, bro. Like, it's iliatopuria. So honestly, bro, beautiful shot placement. Like, he has the best shot placement in the UFC. I do not care what anyone says. I'm not even being biased. Like, I wouldn't be mad if y'all had Jan at number 1, because I don't think that's wrong at all. Like, Jan could be the number 1. I have no problem with it, but I do have Ilya at number 1. He's very crispy. He goes to the body. He goes to the head. He mixes it up very well. He has a decent jab. I do think that's one thing that he could use more. Like in the Josh Emmett fight, he uses jab very well. He's kind of abandoned it now in his last 2 bouts, but he has very good combination punching. He can pull counter. He's very elite at slipping as well. That's one of the best aspects of his game, is slipping punches and putting these guys out. And to help with his boxing, he has nasty nuclear power. I still can't believe that he's the one who cracked Max Holloway's chin. Like, it's crazy. I think knocking out Max Holloway, like, that just boosts you up, like, so far, bro. That's crazy. And then, not to mention, he knocked out Volkanovski. He has elite IQ. He knows when he, traps these guys behind the black line and puts them against the cage. He finds his shots. He's able to find his overhand right. He'll dig to the body. He punches in good spots, and he knows the correct shot to throw at that very moment. We never really see him get outboxed. And he also has good speed as well. I do think that this list can change, though. A lot of these guys are interchangeable, but all of the results we've seen, the technique, the power, the countering ability, everything that goes into boxing, I do think that iliatopuria is the best boxer in the UFC right now. Let me know in the comments if you have any other guys that should have been on the list, or any disagreements with the placements. I'm not right, you're not right. It's just opinionated. It's your list, honestly. I just want to say that because sometimes people get emotional with all these lists and stuff, but it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, let me know in the comments y'all's thoughts. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna mollywop the fuck out of your ass.
I'm the best boxer in the UFC, baby!